Hello there my Jedi and Sith friends, and welcome back to another video. With Maul Shadow Lord just around the corner, I thought it might be a nice idea to dive into aspects of his story which are underrated and little known. And so, I'd like to share with you the craziest deleted scene which most fans don't know about. It's one which Dave Filoni has addressed with blunt honesty, and now we know the real reason it was omitted from Star Wars Rebels, which in my opinion is the very best of Lucasfilm animation. Something which doesn't get spoken about enough is just how much of a risk Star Wars Rebels was for Disney, because you have to realize, this was a very different situation to the Clone Wars. This was no longer George's Lucasfilm, it wasn't self-funded, this was the mouse's wallet. But money wasn't the only consideration. Filoni realized that he couldn't take for granted that Rebels fans were necessarily Clone Wars fans. And as a result, he tried to toe the line between continuing the stories of characters who appeared before and providing enough exposition for fans who'd come into Rebels with no prior knowledge. This is especially true for a deleted scene from Star Wars Rebels Season 3, a fan-favourite episode that is often cited as one of the most impactful in all of Star Wars television, Twin Sons. After years of obsessing over sweet revenge for what he did to him in The Phantom Menace, Maul finally arrives on Tatooine to confront his greatest nemesis, the exiled Jedi Obi-Wan Kenobi. The episode opens with Maul lost in the desert. He can feel Obi-Wan's presence in his mind's eye, but searching an entire planet for a man who doesn't want to be found has proven to be a far more difficult task than Maul expected. In exasperation and pure rage, Maul cries out for Kenobi. Kenobi! His voice reverberates throughout the desert, but Maul will not give in. In the original version of the script, there were various shots of Maul hallucinating under the heat of the Tatooine suns, and in one Force vision he would see a spectre of his deceased brother, Savage Opress, who lost his life at the hands of Darth Sidious. And not just him, but the former pacifist ruler of the New Mandalorians, and the former lover to Obi-Wan, Duchess Satine. Now it's unclear what these characters who are dead would have told him, or if they were merely silent apparitions, and Dave Filoni gives two reasons why he left them out. He explains there was already a lot going on thematically in the episode, with Maul, Obi-Wan, and Ezra, that he didn't want to overcrowd it or diminish the emotional weight of the episode. In addition, Filoni says it didn't make sense to include characters from the Clone Wars that first-time viewers wouldn't know. He didn't want to confuse casual fans. If someone were to watch the episode and not recognize either of them, it would take away from what they were trying to achieve. And ultimately, while it would have been awesome to see Savage in the animated style of Rebels, animated shows, and I would say even live-action ones that fill in time periods, have to strike a balance between pandering to die-hard fans while also creating stories that are accessible to first-time viewers. But if you are going to incorporate some deep cuts, you have to explain them. And I think generally speaking, Rebels does that really well with characters that were brought back. Not just Maul, but also Ahsoka. Ahsoka's a much better example because everyone knows who Maul is. Even if you don't know he was revived in the Clone Wars, he's such an iconic villain from Episode 1, and Rebels does a great job at explaining his motives. But Ahsoka's a better example because, prior to Rebels, she'd only appeared in the Clone Wars movie and TV show. So if you came into Rebels not having seen either of those, it's made very clear who she is, and what kind of relationship she has to Anakin, who is now Vader. Her importance is made obvious, and the best example of a moment that explains why she matters is when she tells Ezra who Anakin was.
Anakin Skywalker. He was my master.
Same with Captain Rex. Even if you never saw the Clone Wars, it's explained who Rex is, who Wolf is, who Gregor is, that they were clones who survived the Clone Wars, and that Kanan doesn't trust them because of what happened to his master during Order 66. It is encouraged for fans to go back and watch the other shows, but it's not essential. At least on the surface, their importance is made evident. And you know, I consider myself a diehard fan. I would instantly understand the weight of seeing Maul be haunted by the brother who died in front of him. But if they were just apparitions and it was never explained who they were in the show, for a first-time viewer or a casual fan, for someone whose entry into the Star Wars universe was Rebels, this would be very confusing. But here's what I'm thinking. With Maul Shadow Lord coming up, I wonder if just like they're bringing back elements of George Lucas's early ideas for Maul in the sequel trilogy, they might also find a way to repurpose this deleted scene. Not on Tatooine, of course, But Maul may be on the planet of Janix during a meditation or a false vision, being haunted by the voice of his deceased brother in some way, even if it isn't really him. And this is different to Star Wars Rebels because it isn't a flagship Star Wars animated show. It's a standalone, but it's a direct continuation after the Clone Wars, so it's expected that we have some prior knowledge. But if you go back and read the announcement from 2013 for Star Wars Rebels, it was made to be a fresh new start for the franchise, introducing a brand new generation to the world of Star Wars animation. Those are two very different things. I would argue more Shadow Lord is more niche, but what Twin Suns accomplished in Rebels Season 3 was insane. The final showdown between Maul and Kenobi. As cool as those cameos would have been, it didn't need anything else. And you know, with Maul Shadow Lord coming out, I've seen fans ask, why are they bringing the character back again? We saw him in the Clone Wars, we see his death in Rebels. What's so interesting about this chapter? Well, the answer is we're going to see how Maul survived the Empire in the first place, how he adapted to early Imperial life, fought off Inquisitors, maybe Vader, and how he established Crimson Dawn. The Hunting Kenobi chapter is on pause and later resumes in Star Wars Rebels. When Maul confronts Obi-Wan, he describes him as a rat in the desert, but Kenobi counters in the knowledge he is there with purpose. He's not there to rot away. He is watching over Luke, and so he tells Maul, "Look what I've risen above." Maul tells Obi-Wan he is there to kill him, but thinks it's worse to leave him there festering in squalor. Kenobi responds that Maul has nothing because he solely defines himself by his power to take life. Maul ignites his double-bladed lightsaber and slashes at the sand, dousing the fire in front of them. He then cries out, "What do you have?" Kenobi stands impassively, as Maul is curious as to why he came to such a deserted rock. But because he was obsessed with the Jedi Master, he is able to sense the mind of his enemy and deduce that Kenobi is protecting something. No, someone. The duel is quick, and the rest is history. As Maul drops his bisected lightsabers and falls to the ground, Kenobi catches him and props up his fallen adversary, cradling him in his arms. In his last moments, Maul asks if Kenobi is hiding the Chosen One. Kenobi confirms that this is true, which implies that Kenobi thinks Luke, and not his father Anakin, is the Chosen One. This is something Dave Filoni has explained since. Maul then says that he will avenge them before passing away. But now, my friends, Maul Shadow Lord is going back in the timeline, long before Maul's appearance on Malachor in Star Wars Rebels, at a time where he is building up power for himself. But I'm hoping we get similar moments of emotional impact, and we learn more about Maul's mindset. Could we see a flashback or an apparition of Savage? Share your thoughts in the comments down below, my dear friends. Do you enjoy these kinds of videos? And are you looking forward to Maul Shadow Lord on April 6th? Please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, check me out on socials, and may the Force be with you, always.